Out of all the shows I've watched, Game of Thrones has to be one of the most complex and multifaceted exploration of power, politics, and human nature set in a fictional medieval world. In today's context, it can be seen as a narrative that delves into several contemporary themes. 1. The struggle for power and governance. At its core, Game of Thrones is about the fierce and often brutal competition for the control of the Iron Throne and the Seven Kingdoms. This reflects modern political battles, power struggles, and the lengths individuals and groups will go through to achieve and maintain power. And then this series highlights the complexity of moral ambiguity, morality, where characters often face difficult choices with no clear right or wrong answers. This mirrors today's ethical dilemmas and the understanding that good and evil are not always black and white. This show also portrays the stark divisions between the noble elite and the common people, touching on themes of social class, privilege, and oppression. This resonates with the ongoing discussions about wealth inequality, social justice, and the fight for a more equitable society. Then there's gender dynamics. Game of Thrones features powerful women leads, or female characters, who navigate a patriarchal society, challenging traditional gender roles and expectations. This aligns with contemporary conversations about gender equality, women's empowerment. For me, there was something captivating about every woman that was in this series, and all of their characters have a pivotal role to play. Brienne of Tart, for example, for me was one of the most notable characters in the series because of her display of loyalty, trust, dignity, and respect for herself. And if you've watched Game of Thrones long enough, you understand that loyalty and betrayal are two intricate parts of this entire series. The web of lies and betrayals and shifting loyalties among the characters reflect the complexity of human relationships and the often unpredictable nature of personal and political alliances in the real world. It's much like today. The loyalty meter is low. We'd love to get it back to a high level, but it is extremely low, especially amongst our politicians. No one really is fighting for us anymore, so we must fight for ourselves. In fact, I can't remember the last time any politician has cared enough to worry about the people. Instead, they worry about their self and their own resilience in getting through. It's partly why many Americans have turned to people who are not a part of the political realm, but outsiders, to lead. But what makes a strong leader? In Game of Thrones, we see that survival and resilience is important. The characters of Game of Thrones frequently face life-threatening challenges, requiring them to adapt, survive, and sometimes compromise their values. This theme resonates with contemporary issues of resilience in the face of adversity and the human capacity to endure and overcome hardship. Speaking of war, the series' depiction of warfare, its causes and consequences can be seen as a commentary on the devastating impact of war, the pursuit of peace, and the cyclical nature of violence in human history. I would argue that one must be resilient, even today, just like in Game of Thrones. There's some powerful quotes from the series. For me, this one rings true. Power resides where men believe it resides. No more and no less. That quote speaks to the illusions of power and the importance of perception. Another great quote from this series is, "What we don't know is what usually gets us killed," emphasizing the value of knowledge and information. And while information is power, information can also be debilitating for some. People have an overwhelming amount of information and they don't know what to do with it, especially for people who have no real true insider knowledge of what is really transpiring behind the scenes, who's actually really in power, and what is really being done to impact our everyday lives. In summary, Game of Thrones is a richly layered narrative that, through its fantasy setting, offers a mirror to modern societal issues. It explores the nature of power, morality, social structures, and human behavior in a way that remains relevant and thought-provoking today. Remember to drop a comment or like below and tell me what you think is really going on behind the scenes, because Game of Thrones is what I really believe is happening. Have a great day. Think for yourself.